Hello there. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Yeah, I've been away almost 2 weeks, and I apologize for that. I try to get back here every week. Sometimes I'm not going to tell you I'm busy. You already know that. You've already heard that. At this point, it just sounds like an excuse. So I won't tell you about it anymore. I will tell you that for quite some time now, I've had some difficulties hearing. Some of it's hereditary. Some of it's probably working in a plant, some other factors that contributed to it. But I'm sure most of it, like most things that I've acquired over the years, are genetic. And I think I think my bouts with stupidity, I think that may be well, I don't know if that's genetic or not, or just acquired. But anyway. I struggled to hear, and it's getting worse, and it's been getting worse for. This is not something that's happened in the last 10 days, or 10 weeks, or 10 months. It's probably been the last 10 years. I've really seen I'm sure I've seen a drop in my hearing from the hearing test I get at work to just the general day to day that I hear from my wife and family and people I work with. Uh, You know, when it comes down to hearing and hearing loss, a person's deaf, nobody gets mad at a person everybody knows is clear deaf. Nobody gets mad at them. A person that's blind, nobody seems to get mad at a person because he can't see things. Everybody seems to understand that. It seems to be accepted. Uh, Nobody gets mad at a guy that's confined to a wheelchair that can't walk. And it don't seem like to get mad at him because why don't you get up there and go over there and get that? Nobody seems to react that way. For the most part, disabilities are pretty well understood, and people accept them. They've seen them, they've dealt with them, and for the most part, nobody really gets mad about a person with disabilities. People don't. It's not really acceptable to get mad at them, and most people don't. But a person that was clear deaf, everybody knows they're clear deaf, and probably nobody bothers them. But hearing loss is kind of acceptable to get mad at people about. I've it's frustrating when you talk to people and they, huh. Now, kids do that quite often, and they hear you just fine, but it becomes a thing with kids. I notice with my grandkids quite often, they go, everything you tell them. And they heard you. They heard you just fine. But with adults, it's almost acceptable with a person with some kind of minimal hearing loss. It's almost acceptable to get mad and grump at them a little bit. I recently couldn't hear something a man said to me at work, and the guy repeated it twice, and the third time he yelled at me. Well, that happens, and in his case, it's just because he just naturally a jerk, and that's pretty much the way he is, and so you just kind of got to dismiss that. But I'm talking most people, the people that are generally friendly and that try to get along with people in their daily life, they usually don't behave that way. But I know it's been frustrating for my wife and my kids and probably my friends that are around me. Sometimes I don't hear very well. I don't hear well at all. And there's court. And I went to an audiologist recently, about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks, and they did a hearing test on me. I had these yearly hearing tests as part of my physical at the place I work at, and they tell me my hearing's down, but I don't really accept theirs too much. The way they do it, it's kind of, let's just say that I think they give us these physicals to meet probably some kind of OSHA requirement, and I'm not sure that people they bring down here are really that qualified. They bring a trailer down here and they put you in an audio booth that well, it's just say that you you can hear everything going on out there, and it's really distracting. It's distracting for me. Fact is, one time they came down there. I'd worked all night, and they gave us those physicals the next day, and they put us in a they brought a trailer that time, and they put us in an audio booth. Well, I'd worked all night. You've seen me. I got this one video here while I drive home after I worked all night, and you can pretty well see how. Okay, a really sleepy old guy, put him in a dark room after he worked 12 hours all night and didn't have any sleep. Try to figure out what the results of that one were. Yes, you're exactly right. I pretty much fell asleep. I didn't hear much of anything. Probably the worst hearing test I ever got in my life. And actually the one the next year, which I wasn't working all night before I took it, it actually improved, and they probably scratched their head at that one, but there wasn't anything here that I didn't understand. You throw me in a dark room after I've worked all night, I will go sleep. I can assure you. It doesn't matter what we're doing. You stick me in a dark room, I will go unconscious, and I will go unconscious pretty doggone quick. But anyway, I went to an audiologist, actually a real one, here a couple weeks ago, and they told me pretty much what I already knew. They said parts of my hearing's pretty good in certain tones, but there are ranges where I really stink in my ability to hear. Most of it's high-pitched things, and so what they told me really wasn't anything I didn't already know. I mean, they basically confirmed what I'd thought. And the conclusion was, I don't hear well. And surprise, surprise, my wife could have told you that. My oldest son could have told you that. Pretty well most of my friends could have told you that. And so, anyway, they were recommending me for hearing aids. And I will tell you something that I've noticed the last couple of years. If anybody remembers this stupid pandemic, for the last 2 years, I have struggled. There's a world I've struggled in, and any time outside the doors of our own house, I've had problems. Some people need a seeing eye dog. I need a hearing ear wife because she's interpreted for me. Look, I don't hear that well anyway. But then you stick a mask in front of somebody's mouth, and you put a sheet of plexiglass between us, I'm probably not going to hear you. And quite often I've in a restaurant or something, or in a business where they're doing that, they got a mask on and they're talking to me behind plexiglass. I haven't heard much of what they said. I've had to look over at my wife, and she'd tell me, she knows. She's pretty well aware of my difficulties with hearing, so she'd tell me what they said. But I don't think you realize just how much people that are a little hard of hearing, how much we read lips. And in the last 2 years, it pretty well confirmed for me. Perhaps the whole hearing issue, I wouldn't have taken it as seriously without the whole pandemic thing of putting goofy mask on everybody and letting them talk through plexiglass. I probably wouldn't have known. It might not have quite clarified it for me as much as that did, because I really come to the conclusion how much I actually read a person's lips. And I think a lot of us, we all do that. And so I really struggled to get what people saying, and it really brought it down to life to me. Put it on the bottom shelf right where I could reach it. The fact that, boy, you don't hear very good, and so that more than anything else probably confirmed to me that I needed to go and do something about it. So I went to an audiologist, and you'll not be surprised to learn the audiologist told me I probably need a hearing aid. It didn't, well, not probably, I do. And so recently, this past week, Joellen and I went to the audiologist, and actually they fitted me for a couple hearing aids, and they're expensive. And then our insurance, which is pretty good, doesn't pay anything on them, which I think is pretty pathetic that insurance doesn't do anything to help you with a hearing aid, something that a lot of people getting up in age, such as me, probably need. And but anyway, they fitted me with a couple of hearing aids, and actually they let me test drive them, and they let me bring them home with me and keep them for about a week. And I have seen some change in them. When they fitted me with those things, I suddenly noticed that the woman in the office suddenly sound like, well, it kind of sound like the difference when you go to an auditorium and the speaker up in front of the crowd doesn't have his microphone on, and then you can't hear him at all or very well, and then suddenly he turns the microphone on, and suddenly that contrast, that difference, kind of became apparent to me when she put the hearing aids in my ear, and just her talking, I saw quite a difference. Like a lot of men, I have some of my vanities, and we've all got them. But I've, for years and years, the last thing I wanted to do was put on a hearing aid. I don't want people to see me with a hearing aid, and I never liked glasses very much either. And for the most part, I don't need them very much. But I never wanted to be seen with a hearing aid. And somewhere along the line, probably the last couple years, maybe my wisdom's exceeded my vanity, and I got to the point where I thought, they don't look all that bad, and heck with it. If I need them, I need them. And some of them are not very apparent. And then I look at all these people with these daggone earbuds in their ears all the time. So somebody's always got something hanging in their ears on airplanes and in the malls and everywhere you go downtown, you see that. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what's a big deal if I got something hanging in my ear? And so somewhere, whatever that vanity was, it wouldn't let me wear a hearing aid. I'm pretty well over that. Maybe I just got old and don't care. I don't know. You know, you get old, you change your opinion about some things. But anyway, they fitted me with a couple of these things, and I'm actually trying them out now, and I actually see some improvement from them. Actually, some great improvement. The thing I've really noticed, particularly when I get, what's really difficult for me is you throw me in the midst of a crowd, and maybe a crowded restaurant where everybody's talking. I strain to hear individual conversations, and I mean, there are places I absolutely hate it there. I just feel uncomfortable. I can't hear. I struggle to hear anything, and I want to hear the conversations, but it seems like I can hear everything, but I can't hear specific things. And they claim that these will help. I haven't been in a situation where I've had a chance to try those out yet. I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing how that does for me, but that's what I'm doing. I didn't know. I figured there's people out there that struggle with the same things I do, and I just thought I'd share that little bit with you. I'm test driving a couple hearing aids right now, and I think I give them back in about a week and a half, and they seem to make some difference. I'm looking forward to trying them in a couple different situations that should happen. I'm not wearing them at work because of, loud noises and possible exposure to chemicals or something. I don't want to mess them up, but I'm probably going to be wearing them. And if you know me and you've talked to me and you noticed I didn't hear very well, if I go ahead and indeed get these things, and then you may notice a difference in our ability to communicate. I apologize to those of you. It's not a situation I much enjoy. I'm not real proud of, but it is what it is. I've not been able to change it, but I may be able to help it now. And so if you talk to me maybe in the next year or so, and I get these things, it may improve. I just thought I'd share that little bit with you. Maybe some of you out there are facing the same things, and so maybe you know there's somebody that's going through that with you. And I do know what it is to have people get annoyed with you because you don't hear very well, and maybe fuss at you, maybe yell at you, and I've lived with that. I've put up with that a lot over the last couple of years, and you know, you don't do it to blind people, you don't do it to people confined to a wheelchair, but people that have some hearing loss, it's perfectly acceptable to be a little rude and lose your temper with them, and maybe I understand that a little bit. I've probably done the same thing. So I just thought I'd share that with you this week. I thank you for sitting here with me and listening in. Thanks for stopping in. I'll catch you next week. If you would, I'd appreciate it very much if you hit like and subscribe. Hitting subscribe helps us, and I would appreciate you doing that if you get the chance. Thank you much, and we'll catch you next week. Bye now.